The BBI team is set to hand over its report to President Uhuru Kenyatta and ODM leader Raila Odinga any moment from now. And this is, sort of like amid speculation that its contents touch on proposals that may alter the executive positions. And of course, a lot of proponents and opposers of this particular report. But the question really is, I'll start with Ben. I mean, the question is, how are politicians speaking on contents that are yet to even be revealed?
Zainab, as I indicated actually when we were starting off, believe you me, the kind of politics Kenyans have been treated to and are being treated to is extremely exhausting. On the one hand, we have to agree that there is nothing wrong with any initiative coming from any quarters. Even as we were listening to that particular individual castigating the Punguza Mzigo, there is nothing wrong with even him coming up with an initiative to either bring changes in the way we are governed or in the way we legislate or in the structure of government. There's nothing wrong with that. But on the other hand, you realize, like the BBI team set out a long time ago to meet Kenyans in all the 47 counties, collecting views on areas that they felt needed some input from Kenyans to see how we can address, like the issues of negative ethnicity and the primitive competition we have had, especially around elections. So I find it a bit interesting that we have insisted on discussing something that does not exist, because even the president himself does not have that report. So he cannot even start discussing it. We have a team that was specifically tasked to come up with that, and they are still fine-tuning on the same and awaiting an appointment with the president. So when we start listening to politicians coming out in their large numbers, castigating something they don't even know, I don't know, maybe these people are practicing some black magic or some witchcraft. So they have the capacity to read spirits. And maybe they have consulted their witch doctors and they have been told the contents of the report even before they see it. That's why they are all hammer and tongs castigating the same. But again, for the average Kenyan, you realize there has been continuously initiatives by the political class to escape their responsibilities. And this conversation, you see already the temperatures are so high, yet nobody, including the team you saw from Mount Kenya last week, nobody even has a page of that report. We don't even know how many pages it is. Maybe it is 2 paragraphs, the report. Maybe it is 100 pages. So what that tells is we have a political class that is so obsessed with nothing, while escaping or avoiding dealing with the real issues. My take would be, and on this I would agree with the former Prime Minister, why don't we wait and get the report, then we can start discussing the contents therein. By the way, nobody is being coerced or nobody is being forced to be a part of that process. But it will be interesting, like the same way we have been taken through the journey of Punguza Mzigo. It will be very important for this country to be taken through the same process. If Kenyans really find that this is a good thing for this country in terms of managing our elections, in terms of governance, and in terms of representation, then we can go with it. If there are challenges, again, because as far as I am concerned, already, contrary to the assertions of some of the political leaders, there is no indication that there is going to be a referendum. In the event there is even a proposal for that, there is still room to improve on the proposals contained in the BBI report, so that we can have a document working for Kenyans. Change is constant. It is the only permanent thing in life. So those who are resistant,
it's a bit too premature for that
it is entirely premature.
All right, and Mark, Mount Kenya leaders a few days ago came out opposing the BBI over what they said was representation concerns. What is the underlying issue here?
I am quite tickled because you're a leader in parliament, and you have the constitutional mandate to address those things in parliament, but you want to complain about it when a document is purportedly, not even confirmed, trying to deal with it. That's what I find very funny about this country, that it is my job but I am opposing myself.
Yes.
Do you find how ironic that is? That you actually have a mandate by the Constitution to actually bring up these issues, but you've decided in your own laziness to complain about someone who's doing something about it. And this is classic Kenyan behavior. It's called creating problems for every solution. BBI was a solution for all of 3 days. We agreed, oh my goodness, they shook hands, we were happy, you know, peace was in the country, the 9 points agenda, we discussed it, we were happy with it. Now, even before the report comes out, we have muddied the report so much that we've not seen. Now, the question I have to ask these representatives, what if BBI comes out and does not touch the executive? What if it comes out and does not say there's a prime minister?
Yes.
What then? What have you been spending years fighting about? You understand?
Right.
And as Ben correctly put it, remember, BBI is not a constitutional amendment. You know, reducing it to a constitutional amendment is being having a lot of hubris and insincerity as a political class. The BBI is supposed to deliver a report to the president and the former prime minister, which will recommend certain actions. Okay, those actions vary from executive actions to parliamentary actions to actions that can be done at county levels, all the way to a constitutional referendum. There are like 30 different options that report could suggest. It could also suggest that, listen, why don't we just sit down and ask ourselves, are we a country of people who throw banana peels out of the window, as was being discussed in the anti-corruption conference? Are we a people where if I leave my phone in a hotel room, I can come back and get it? Perhaps that's what they would recommend. I personally think Kenyans just need to talk about, can we start shaming people with bad behavior? You understand? But because of political capture of the BBI report, we are discussing things that fundamentally do not exist. And, you know, people have argued, oh, Raila does not know what is in the report, how can he support it? And then the other people who are opposing, the people who are opposing it can't oppose it because they've not read what is in the report. But Raila cannot oppose it because he is a signatory to the creation of BBI. So how do you want him to oppose it? Because he's the one who said, he's half of the parties that said, we need to talk about national ethos, we need to talk about the fight against corruption. So Raila has to support it. He'd be insane not to. The truth of the matter is this. Let's wait. The report will come. And guess what? If it has something wrong with it, just the same way we pointed out what was wrong with Punguza Mizigo, we will say it. If there is something right with it, we will say it. But for now, based on the 9 points agenda, I'm for BBI because I want us to fight corruption. I want us to change our national ethos. I want our electoral cycles not to be violent.
And with all that in place, you know, interestingly, so the public debate, however, has been largely focused on just one thing. That is on the structure of the governments and apparently the jobs that this will create. Not
even the structure of the government. It is focused on, will Raila give Uhuru a job or will Uhuru give Raila a job? As though in any of those suggestions they would not vote. We're not creating a monarchy, are we? So now the king will be Raila and the prince Uhuru. Surely, you know, Kenyans sometimes,
it doesn't make
a very quick rejoint on that. A very quick rejoint on that. You realize this conversation sometimes is largely misplaced. After the 2007 elections, we had the Grand Coalition government. And out of that particular government, we had a cabinet of about 42 cabinet ministers. We had about, I think, 92 assistant ministers or thereabouts, and a whole litany of PSS that particular time. And the reality is, despite that concentration or that high number of individuals serving in government, those 5 years the Kibaki administration delivered. What that points out is we need to focus on why we are not able to achieve the specific things we set out to. For example, the primary conversation should be about these issues of debt, the issues of projects, moribund projects that have been heavily funded, yet they are either stalled or are not functioning. Those are the areas even these parliamentarians should be interrogating, because that's where the main blockage is coming from in terms of progressing this country.
Right.
Believe you me, we can still have as many people or as few people in government as possible.
Right.
But as long as we don't have the right work culture and the right work ethic in government, it never matters whether we change the name of president to become prime minister or to become prince or to become chief.
Right.
We can even have the chief of state. It will never matter. So long as we are not interrogating and really, and that's why I've been insisting, even before we start talking, clamoring around a constitutional referendum, why are we not bothered to really implement the chapter 6 of the existing constitution as it is?
Right.
That is exactly where the solution lies.
Yes, Gabriel.
And to a large extent, I will agree with these two gentlemen. First of all, I think it is premature right now to even talk about the contents of BBI. Yes, we may talk about the 9 points agenda, which we all know what they were. But
actually,
you know,
if you look at
the 9 points were actually clearly stipulated for everyone because those were, I think, the key drivers that made up or made the team that was tasked to go out and be able to pick the ideas of Kenyans. So I think at this point it will be premature, just like what the president has said and just like what the former prime minister has insisted upon. So to me, I think it will be again premature to talk as if the way people are saying a lot of things with finality. And like Mark has said, what if there in the BBI comes out, clauses that you may not, or that are not aligned to what you thought they would be. Right. So I think as we try to all of us think what should be contained in that BBI, I think it's also proper for us to wait until we see the final document. Having said that, there's also a consideration that we all should make as Kenyans. One is how we came to be where we are today. We had a constitution that, many people were told, if so-and-so has read, it is okay. I think we've learned something out of that. We've learned to sit back, read and understand that which is contained in the instruments, if you will, that say how me and you, Zainab, should be governed. So this is a very important document. Our constitution is a very important document, and therein lies how this country will be governed, how we go forward, how we develop, how we leave this nation to our future generation.